A reading from the book of Genesis, chapter 25. Abraham's death and his descendants. Abraham took another wife, whose name was Keturah. She bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan fathered Sheba and Dedan. The sons of Dedan were Ashurim, Letushim, and Leumim. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanot, Abida, and Eldah. All these were the children of Keturah. Abraham gave all he had to Isaac. But to the sons of his concubines, Abraham gave gifts, and while he was still living, he sent them away from his son Isaac eastward to the east country. These are the days of the years of Abraham's life, 175 years. Abraham breathed his last and died in a good old age, an old man and full of years, and was gathered to his people. Isaac and Ishmael his sons buried him in the cave of Machpelah in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar the Hittite, east of Mamre, the field that Abraham purchased from the Hittites. There Abraham was buried, with Sarah his wife. After the death of Abraham, God blessed Isaac his son, and Isaac settled at Beer-lahai Roi. These are the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian servant, Sarah's servant, bore to Abraham. These are the names of the sons of Ishmael, named in the order of their birth: Nebaioth, the firstborn of Ishmael, and Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedema. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names, by their villages and by their encampments, 12 princes according to their tribes. These are the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years. He breathed his last and died, and was gathered to his people. They settled from Havilah to Shur, which is opposite Egypt, in the direction of Assyria. He settled over against all his kinsmen. These are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham fathered Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean of Padan Aram, the sister of Laban, the Aramean, to be his wife. And Isaac prayed to the Lord for his wife, because she was barren. And the Lord granted his prayer, and Rebekah his wife conceived. The children struggled together within her, and she said, If it is thus, why is this happening to me? So she went to inquire of the Lord, and the Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 people from within you shall be divided. The one shall be stronger than the other shall serve the younger. When her days to give birth were completed, behold, there were twins in her womb. The first came out red, all his body like a hairy cloak, so they called him Esau. Afterward, his brother came out with his hand holding Esau's heel, so his name was called Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. When the boys grew up, Esau was a skillful hunter, a man of the field, while Jacob was a quiet man, dwelling in tents. Isaac loved Esau because he ate of his game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Once, when Jacob was cooking stew, Esau came in from the field, and he was exhausted. And Esau said to Jacob, Let me eat some of that red stew, for I am exhausted. Therefore his name was called Edom. Jacob said, Sell me your birthright now. Esau said, I am about to die. Of what use is a birthright to me? Jacob said, Swear to me now. So he swore to him and sold his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil stew, and he ate and drank and rose and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So in this chapter I see how a couple things. First, Abraham, once his wife died, Sarah, he took to himself another wife whose name was Keturah, and he had a lot more children with her. But he only gave gifts to all those children. He didn't really give all his possessions and all his property the way he did to Isaac, who was the son of God's promise. But at the same time, I see how all these other kids born of his other wife, Keturah, are also uh, a blessing to Abraham. They're also the ones who are going to bring about God's promise of making Abraham's descendants as numerous as the stars and the galaxies and as numerous as the grains of sand. So they are all helping in fulfilling God's promise and making Abraham a father of many nations. And the same with Ishmael, the son he had with Hagar, the Egyptian, Sarah's servant. Ishmael had lots of other sons and daughters too, and they all had their encampments, and they all also multiplied on the earth. And so I see how God's promises were being realized through these different ways. And Abraham also had concubines, from what I see here. And when Abraham finally died, he was buried right next to his wife Sarah from that tomb that he bought from the Hittite. I forgot his name. Zohar. Yeah, in the field of Ephron. The same the same tomb he bought to bury his wife Sarah, who had died before him. When Abraham died, he was also buried beside her. That's a beautiful thing. And that's, I don't know what my future holds, but I think it's a big fruit of loyalty to be buried right next to one's wife. And Abraham and Sarah will be eternally, well, I'm not going to say they're eternally together even after they died, because only God knows where each of them, their spirits or their souls, are in heaven. But at least here on earth, they spent all their life together, and they died right next to each other and are buried right next to each other, and that's a beautiful test of loyalty. And then Isaac, Abraham's true, real son, not that the others aren't, but the one he had through Sarah, his wife was barren, so he had to pray to God, and God granted his prayer, and Rebekah was able to conceive. But she conceived two boys, twins, Esau and Jacob. And I see how Esau was a redhead guy who came out of the womb first, but Jacob was grabbing onto his heel. It's almost like they were fighting to see who was gonna get out of their mom's womb first. And Esau won, but Jacob was hanging on to his heel, hanging on to the bottom of his ankle area, as if to say, I'm not going to let you have that birthright. And sure enough, years later, Jacob was cooking some stew, and Esau came in hungry from doing his daily hunting, and Esau told Jacob, "Oh, let me eat some of that red stew, for I'm exhausted." And then Jacob was very astute and cunning, and he says, "Sell me your birthright now." His birthright, to be the firstborn. And Esau didn't think much of it, so he didn't value his birthright. So that to me kind of tells me that you need to learn how to value what's really valuable, because you could easily just sell it for a bowl of stew. And so Jacob had Esau swear to him, and Esau did swear to him and sold his birthright to Jacob, and just for a bowl of stew, because he was hungry. And he gave him bread and lentil stew, and ate and drank and rose. And that's the way Esau despised his birthright, and Jacob basically inherited all the blessings of being a firstborn within a household. And that's what we see there. And so, you would think that that's mischievous thinking or behavior on behalf of Jacob, but as we'll see later, God favored Jacob too in a special way. And Esau, though his father Isaac liked him more, um, didn't really matter much because Jacob was smarter and he was more quieter into himself, but his mom liked him more. So it's kind of strange how things are unraveling there.